He hadn't passed a single drop of urine in 11 hours. His lower belly was swollen tight as a drum, and he sat pale and sweating, rocking back and forth in the chair. It wasn't a heart attack, it was his bladder. A prostate the size of a lemon had slowly squeezed his urine pipe shut, until one ordinary evening nothing came out at all. For 2 years he'd waved off the weak stream and the nightly bathroom trips as just getting older. They weren't, they were a countdown. So before anyone hands you a bag of pumpkin seeds and calls it a cure, you need to know what actually helps a growing prostate. And the 4 signs that mean food is the wrong conversation entirely. I've spent years on the floor of an emergency room, and the man I just described, I've met him more times than I can count. Different faces, same story. He is almost never there because of a nut or a vitamin or anything he ate. He's there because a warning got ignored for months, sometimes years, until his body stopped asking politely. Here's what I want you to hold on to for the next half hour. That weak stream, that hesitation, that feeling that you never quite empty. That is not a nuisance. It is information. Your prostate is talking to you, and most men have been taught to translate what it's saying as nothing, just age, don't make a fuss. That translation is the actual danger. And let me be specific about why I care so much about those night trips, because it isn't only about being tired. For an older man, getting up in the dark half asleep to shuffle to the bathroom is one of the most common ways a serious fall happens. Research on older adults links frequent nighttime urination, 2 or more trips a night, to a higher risk of falls and the broken bones that follow them. And a broken hip after 70 is not a small event. It's often the start of losing your independence, your home, your ability to take care of yourself. So when I push on your nighttime bathroom trips, understand what I'm really trying to protect. It isn't just your sleep, it's your footing, your hip, and your own front door. So let's do this properly. I'm going to give you the 5 nuts everyone online is shouting about: pumpkin seeds, walnuts, almonds, Brazil nuts, and pecans, and I'll tell you exactly which compounds in them do something real, how much to eat, and which one has the best science behind it. But I'm also going to tell you the truth those shrink your prostate overnight videos leave out, because that truth is what actually protects you. You'll get the 4 red flag signs that mean skip the snack and get seen. You'll get the everyday medicine sitting in your bathroom cabinet that can tip a big prostate into a full-blown emergency. And you'll get a simple 2-week plan, plus a way to measure whether any of it is working. Stay with me, because the single most useful part of this video is not a nut at all. First, let's get clear on what this walnut-sized gland even is, because you can't fix what you don't understand. Ground floor. What is it? Where does it sit? And why does it turn on you? Your prostate sits right below your bladder, wrapped around the tube that carries urine out of your body. Picture a soft donut with a garden hose running straight through the hole. When you're young, the donut is small and the hose runs free. As the years go by, for most men that donut slowly thickens. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly tightens around the hose. And the stream that used to be strong and fast turns slow, split, hesitant, and hard to finish. That slow thickening has a name: benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH. Break that phrase apart. Benign means not cancer. Hyperplasia just means more cells the gland has grown. So BPH is a non-cancerous enlargement of the prostate, and it is astonishingly common. This is not a rare problem you got unlucky with. Look at the numbers. By their 60s, autopsy studies show more than half of men already have this enlargement. By their 70s and 80s, it climbs to 80 and 90%. The National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, one of the big national institutes of health, puts symptom-causing enlarged prostate at about 1/3 of American men once they pass 65. If you're a man over 60 watching this, the odds are simply not on your side. And that's not bad luck. That's just biology doing what biology does. Now here's the part most men blur together, and getting it straight matters. There are 3 different things that can go wrong with a prostate, and they are not the same. The first is BPH, the benign growth we just described, the plumbing problem. The second is prostatitis, which means inflammation or infection of the prostate. That one can come with fever, burning, and real pain, and it can hit younger men too. The third is prostate cancer, 3 different conditions. And here's the trap. They can cause overlapping symptoms, and you cannot tell them apart from the outside. A weak stream does not tell you which one you have. That's the whole reason a knowledgeable stranger on the internet, me included, cannot diagnose you through a screen. What I can do is teach you to read your own body well enough to know when to act and how fast. Now let me keep the promise I made in the first 30 seconds because this is where I part ways with most of what you've been shown. You've seen the thumbnails. One nut, shrink your prostate in a single day. It's a wonderful story. It's also not true, and I'd be doing you a disservice to pretend otherwise. So here's the honest version, and honesty here is not the boring version. It's the useful one. Can food change how your prostate feels? Yes. Genuinely, measurably, yes. But feels better and is smaller are two completely different things, and the difference decides what you should actually expect. Let me show you with the strongest science we have. There's a plant compound called beta-sitosterol. It's found in pumpkin seeds, in pecans, in lots of seeds and nuts. Researchers pooled together the best randomized trials on it. 4 controlled studies, more than 500 men, the kind of test where some men get the real thing and some get a dummy pill, and nobody knows who got what. And the men on beta-sitosterol did improve. Their urinary symptom scores dropped by about 5 points on a standard scale. Their flow rate, the actual speed of the stream, picked up by nearly 4 milliliters per second. They emptied more completely. Those are real, meaningful changes a man feels in his daily life. But watch this. In those same studies, beta-sitosterol did not shrink the prostate. The gland was the same size. The men felt better and peed better because the compound calms the tissue and relaxes the flow, not because the donut got smaller. Sit with that for a second because it reframes everything. The nuts in this video are not prostate shrinkers. They are symptom easers and risk lowerers. And that is still worth a great deal. Fewer trips out of bed at 2 in the morning is worth a great deal. A stronger stream is worth a great deal. But if a video promises the gland itself will shrink from a handful of seeds, it's selling you a feeling, not a fact. Here's what actually shrinks an enlarged prostate, so you have the full picture. There are prescription medicines, a class called 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, that genuinely reduce the size of the gland, and even those take 6 months to a year to do it. And there's surgery. That's the honest list. A nut is not on it. What a nut can do is help you live more comfortably while you and your doctor keep an eye on the thing that's actually causing the trouble. Keep that frame, and you'll never be fooled by a thumbnail again. So if the gland isn't shrinking, what is the point of any of this? To answer that, you need to know why the prostate grows in the first place, because every honest recommendation in this video comes straight out of that mechanism. 3 engines drive an enlarging angry prostate. Learn these 3 and the whole topic snaps into focus. The first engine is a hormone called DHT, dihydrotestosterone. Here's the plain English version. Your body takes ordinary testosterone and, using an enzyme, converts a slice of it into DHT, which is a far more powerful signal inside the prostate. Think of DHT as a grow button. In the prostate, that button accounts for the vast majority of the hormonal grow signal, around 90% of it, 90% from one hormone. In some men, that button is basically stuck halfway down for decades, and the gland slowly, quietly thickens year after year. This is why several of these foods matter at all. Certain plant compounds gently nudge that conversion and ease the pressure on the button. The second engine is inflammation. An inflamed prostate is a swollen, irritable prostate. Picture the difference between a relaxed muscle and one that's clenched and tender. The clenched one crowds the hose harder and twitches more, and that twitch is the urgent, gotta go right now feeling. A lot of what these nuts bring to the table is anti-inflammatory. They help take some of the heat out of the tissue. And the third engine is the one almost nobody talks about, and it's the most important one for the long game, your metabolism. This is the cross-connection men are never told about. High blood sugar, a large waistline, insulin resistance, the same things that damage your heart and your kidneys also feed prostate growth and worse urinary symptoms. Belly fat is not inert. It's hormonally active, it stokes inflammation, and it tilts your whole system toward growth signals, which means your waistband is one of the more honest prostate readings you own. Once your waist pushes past 40 inches, risk climbs for your heart, your blood sugar, and yes, your prostate too. They are all the same story, told in different organs. And that brings me to the most important few minutes of this entire video. If you remember nothing else, remember this next part. This is the part to send to your father, your husband, your brother. Because everything I've said so far assumes you have ordinary benign enlargement, the common plumbing problem. Most of the time, that's exactly what it is. but there are 4 signals that mean this is not a nut conversation. These mean stop, put down the pumpkin seeds, and get a real person to look at you. I've watched too many men snack their way politely toward a disaster that was catchable months earlier. Sign number 1, and it's the emergency. You suddenly cannot urinate at all. Not a weak stream, nothing. Your bladder feels full to bursting, there's real pain low in your belly, and no matter how long you stand there, you can't go. That's called acute urinary retention, and it is exactly what put the man from the start of this video in front of me. It is a medical emergency. The bladder can only stretch so far before urine backs up toward the kidneys and starts doing damage. This is not a call the office Monday situation. If this happens, you go to the emergency room that night, not tomorrow, that night. Sign number 2, blood in your urine. Pink, red, rusty, or brown, any blood you can see. It might be minor, it might be an infection or a stone. But visible blood in the urine can also be the first and only early sign of a cancer in the bladder or the prostate. And those are far more treatable when they're caught at the whisper than at the scream. Blood in the urine always earns a prompt call to your doctor. Don't wait to see if it clears on its own. Sign number 3, burning pain when you urinate, especially with a fever, chills, or a low, deep ache. That combination points toward infection of the urinary tract or the prostate itself, and in an older man, an untreated urinary infection can turn serious fast. A fever of 100.4 degrees or higher, together with urinary symptoms, is a same-day problem. Urgent care or the ER that day. Sign number 4 is the quiet one. Unexplained weight loss, new bone pain in your back or hips, or a stream that's collapsing much faster than a slow, years-long drift. Those deserve a real appointment soon, not next year, this month. So here's how to think about all of it, like a ladder. If your symptoms are mild and steady, a little slow, a couple of night trips, you monitor, you write it down, and you bring it up at your next regular visit. If something is new, persistent, or clearly getting worse, you call your primary care doctor and ask to be seen this week. If you have burning with a fever, that's urgent care or the ER today. And if you flat out cannot urinate, or you're passing large clots and feel faint, that's the emergency room now. If you feel like you might pass out, call 911 and let them bring you in. Do not drive yourself. An ambulance starts helping you on the way, and you get seen faster when you arrive by ambulance. I know what stops a lot of men right here. It's the cost. An ER visit is expensive, and that fear is real. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But in all my years, the pattern was painfully consistent. The men who waited to save money almost always paid more in the end, in damage, in procedures, in nights in a hospital bed. Being checked and sent home is a win, not a waste of anyone's time. You are allowed to take up that space. One more thing belongs right here, because it sends men into that number 1 emergency more often than people realize. Look in your medicine cabinet. Common over-the-counter cold and allergy medicines, the decongestants like pseudoephedrine, and the older antihistamines like the ones in nighttime cold formulas and Benadryl can tighten the muscle at the bladder's outlet and tip an already crowded prostate into full retention. Same with certain anticholinergic medicines for allergies, sleep, and overactive bladder. So if you have known prostate enlargement, that innocent cold pill before a long car trip is a genuine gamble. Read the label. If it says, ask a doctor before use if you have trouble urinating due to an enlarged prostate, that warning is for you, and it's printed there because this is common. It is one of the easiest emergencies in the world to simply not have. All right, you've got the safety picture. Now let's talk about the food, honestly, one nut at a time, what's really in it, how much to eat, and how much to expect. I'll rank them for you, strongest evidence first, so you know where to start. And I know what some of you are thinking because you've told me. You've tried the nut thing before, and it didn't feel like it did much. Stay with me, because there's a good chance you were eating the wrong form, the wrong amount, or expecting the wrong result, expecting a shrinking gland instead of an easier stream. Let's fix all 3. Number 1, and the one I'd start with, pumpkin seeds. These are in the top spot because they carry 2 of the useful compounds at once. First, that beta-cytosterol we already talked about, the one with actual randomized trials behind it for better flow and fewer symptoms. Second, zinc. Your prostate concentrates more zinc than almost any other tissue in your body. It's a zinc bank. Now, I want to be careful here, because this is where the internet oversells. Eating zinc-rich food is sensible. Swallowing high-dose zinc pills is not. Large studies have actually linked heavy zinc supplementation to worse prostate outcomes, not better. So the move is food, not megadoses. A small handful of raw, unsalted pumpkin seeds a day, about 1 ounce, gives you zinc and beta-sitosterol in the form your body evolved to handle. Let me make this real. A man I'll call Walt, 66, a retired mail carrier outside Toledo, came in worn down. Not from pain, from exhaustion. He was up 4 and 5 times a night, and a man who doesn't sleep for 2 years is a man whose blood pressure, mood, and marriage all start to fray. His enlargement was benign. We checked. Alongside the plan his doctor set, he started a daily ounce of pumpkin seeds and cut his evening fluids. Was it a miracle? No. But over about 6 weeks, the night trips settled to 1 or 2, and he got his sleep back. He didn't shrink his prostate. He made his life livable again. That's the honest win these seeds offer, and it's a real one. Eat them raw and unsalted, not the candied or heavily salted kind, because that salt works against your blood pressure, which is the last thing an older man needs. Number 2, pecans. Most men only think of pecans in a pie at Thanksgiving, but they're one of the richer nut sources of that same beta-sitosterol. So the logic is identical to pumpkin seeds, just a different delivery truck for a similar cargo. They also bring monounsaturated fats, the same heart-friendly fat that's in olive oil, which supports the blood vessel health your pelvic circulation depends on. A small handful, around 20 halves, a few times a week, raw or dry roasted, unsalted. Keep them in the fridge or the freezer, because those good oils go rancid at room temperature faster than you'd think. And rancid fat is pro-inflammatory. That's the exact opposite of the point. Number 3, walnuts. Here I want to reset your expectations honestly. Walnuts are not a proven prostate shrinker, and the research on walnuts and prostate cancer specifically is mixed. I'm not going to pretend it's settled, so why are they on the list? Because of the metabolic engine. Walnuts are the best whole food plant source of a type of omega-3 fat, and they're one of the most heart and metabolism-friendly foods you can eat. They help calm inflammation and support the blood vessel lining, what doctors call endothelial function, which is just the health of the inner wall of your blood vessels. Remember, the same metabolic mess that clogs arteries also irritates prostates. So walnuts earn their place by fighting that third engine, the metabolic one, not by any magic done directly to the gland. 1 small handful a day, raw or lightly toasted. And here's a connection men care about but rarely say out loud. The same healthy blood flow that eases pelvic symptoms is the same blood flow behind a firm erection. Trouble in that department, for an older man, is often an early warning that the small blood vessels are struggling, sometimes years before the heart ever shows it. So when you eat for your circulation, you are not only chasing a stronger stream, you're protecting the plumbing that matters to you in more than one room of the house, one system, one set of choices. That's why the heart-healthy foods keep showing up in a prostate video. Number 4, almonds. And this one comes with the most important honesty check in the whole video, so stay with me. Almonds are rich in vitamin E and magnesium. Vitamin E is an antioxidant, magnesium helps smooth muscle relax, and from whole food in a handful of almonds, both are perfectly good things. But here is where I have to stop you from making a dangerous leap. Do not hear vitamin E is good for the prostate and go buy vitamin E pills. A massive American trial called SELECT, more than 35,000 men, tested high-dose vitamin E supplements, and the men taking them ended up with about 17% more prostate cancer than the men on a dummy pill. More, not less. The supplement backfired. That is the single clearest lesson in this whole field. The nutrient in the food behaved completely differently from the nutrient in the pill. A handful of almonds is food. A high-dose vitamin E capsule is a drug-sized dose your prostate never asked for. Eat the almonds. Skip the E supplement, raw or dry roasted, unsalted, about a 1 ounce handful. Number 5, Brazil nuts. And the honesty check continues because the same trap sits right here. Brazil nuts are the single richest food source of selenium, a mineral involved in cleaning up cellular damage. You'll see selenium prevents prostate cancer all over the internet. That same SELECT trial tested it. Selenium supplements did not prevent prostate cancer, full stop. So the whole food amount is fine, But there is a second warning specific to Brazil nuts that I need you to hear clearly. Selenium is toxic in excess, and Brazil nuts are so concentrated that just a few can push you past the safe daily limit. The rule is simple and firm: no more than 1 or 2 Brazil nuts a day. More is not better here. More is harmful. This is the one nut where portion control isn't about calories. It's about not poisoning yourself with a mineral. 1 or 2, that's it. Now, before we leave the supplement aisle entirely, a quick word on the most famous prostate pill of them all, saw palmetto. You'll see it in every pharmacy, but I'd be hiding the ball if I didn't tell you that a large, high-quality American trial tested it, even pushed the dose higher and higher, and found it worked no better than a dummy pill for urinary symptoms. So if you've taken it and felt nothing, that's not your fault, and you're not doing it wrong. Save that money for real food, and put your effort into the levers that actually move the needle, which is exactly where we're headed next. Now, food that helps is only half the equation. What you take away often matters more than what you add. So here's the short list of what quietly works against your bladder every single night. Fluids in the evening. This is the biggest, easiest win for nighttime trips. Your kidneys don't care what time it is. Whatever you drink in the 2 or 3 hours before bed lands in your bladder while you're trying to sleep. Front load your fluids earlier in the day and taper them off after dinner. You are not drinking less overall. You're just changing the timing. Caffeine and alcohol, both are bladder irritants and both are mild diuretics, meaning they make you produce more urine and make the bladder twitchier and more urgent. That afternoon, coffee and that evening beer are a common 1-2 punch behind a restless, up-all-night bladder. You don't have to quit them. Just pull them earlier in the day and watch what changes. And the metabolic troublemakers, sugary drinks, ultra-processed food, the standard drive-through diet. They feed the exact belly fat and blood sugar problems that drive the third engine. Every step you take away from that plate is a step that helps your heart, your blood sugar, and your prostate at the same time. As for pairing the good stuff in, keep it stupidly simple, because simple is what you'll actually do. Buy raw, unsalted mixed nuts and seeds. A big bag from a warehouse store is cheap. Keep it in the fridge. A small handful after breakfast, a Brazil nut or 2, and pumpkin seeds thrown on a salad or into yogurt. That's the whole system. You're not cooking anything, but I promised you honesty, and honesty means telling you where the real leverage is. If nuts are a small lever, here are the big ones. The things that outperform any seed in this video. Rank them above the food. The biggest lever is your waistline. Losing even a modest amount of belly fat does more for urinary symptoms than any nut, because it drains that third engine directly. Less inflammation, better blood sugar, fewer growth signals. You do not need to get lean. You need to get your waist moving in the right direction. That is the highest return move on the whole board. The second lever, move after you eat. A 10 or 15-minute walk after a meal lowers your blood sugar, fights the metabolic engine, and keeps your whole pelvis healthier. Now, I know this country isn't built for walking. A lot of you don't have sidewalks, and winter ice is a real fall risk. So use what you've got. Walk the loops inside a big store. Mall walking is a genuine, wonderful senior institution, flat, indoor, climate-controlled, and safe. Park at the far end of the lot. Do laps around the yard. It doesn't have to be pretty. It has to be regular. The third lever, how you empty. 2 small techniques help a surprising amount. One is double voiding. After you finish, wait a few seconds, relax, and try again, because a crowded prostate often leaves urine behind, and that leftover urine is what sends you back 20 minutes later. The other is simply not holding it for hours out of habit, because an overstretched bladder empties even worse. And a warning wrapped in a lever. Be the man who reads the cold medicine label. We covered why. Before a road trip or a long flight, that decongestant is the one that lands men in the ER independence. Driving yourself, staying in your own home, keeping up with the grandkids, is built out of exactly these unglamorous choices. So how do you know if any of this is working instead of just guessing? You measure. 2 simple tools, and you already own everything you need. The first is a symptom check you can do in your head. Doctors use a formal version called the International Prostate Symptom Score, but you can run the plain version yourself. Rate each of these from 0, meaning never, to 5, meaning almost always. How often is your stream weak? How often do you strain or wait for it to start? How often do you feel you didn't fully empty? How often do you go again within 2 hours? How urgent is the urge? Do you have to rush for it? And how many times are you up at night? Add it up. The exact number matters less than the direction it moves. You are looking for the pattern, not a perfect score. The second tool is a 7-night bladder diary. For 1 week, keep a cheap notepad by the bed and write down what you drank and when, and every single time you get up in the night. 7 nights. That's it. 2 things happen. You'll often spot your own trigger, the late coffee, the second beer, the big glass of water at 9 at night, and you'll have something real to hand your doctor, which turns a vague "I go a lot at night" into information they can actually use. Track it for 2 weeks alongside the changes, and you'll know, not hope, know, whether the nuts and the timing tweaks are earning their place. Let me make the next 2 weeks concrete. A plan you start tomorrow beats a perfect plan you never begin. 2 weeks, 1 notepad, start tonight. This week, buy 1 bag of raw, unsalted mixed nuts and seeds and put it in the fridge. Eat a small handful after breakfast, plus 1 or 2 Brazil nuts and no more. Stop caffeine after lunch and stop fluids a couple of hours before bed. Take 1 short walk after dinner. And start the 7-night diary tonight. Then, at your next visit, bring 3 things to your doctor: your symptom pattern, your diary, and 1 question. Given my age and my situation, should we talk about a PSA test? That blood test is a real conversation, not an automatic yes. The national guidelines say men from about 55 to 69 should decide together with their doctor, weighing the benefits against the risk of overtreatment. It's a discussion to have on purpose, not a box to tick. And understand what that test does and doesn't tell you, because this trips up a lot of men. A normal PSA is reassuring, but it doesn't guarantee your prostate is perfect. And a high PSA does not mean you have cancer. Benign enlargement raises it. A recent infection raises it. Even a long bike ride can raise it. That's exactly why it's a conversation and not a verdict. A clue, read in context. Not a sentence handed down. And if you're on Medicare, remember that your annual wellness visit costs you nothing, no copay. Free, every year. Almost nobody claims it. You should. That visit is the perfect place to hand over your diary. Bring the diary. Ask the question. That's how you take the wheel of this instead of riding in the back. Let me bring this together into 1 thing you can carry out of here. 1 picture, hold on to it. A week stream and nightly bathroom trips are not just aging. They are your prostate talking, and most of the time the message is benign, common enlargement. The donut slowly tightening on the hose. Food can genuinely help you live with it. Pumpkin seeds and pecans carry the compound with the best evidence for easier flow. Walnuts and almonds fight the metabolic and inflammatory engines. Brazil nuts help too, 1 or 2, never more. But hold the honest frame. These ease symptoms, they don't shrink the gland, and they never replace getting looked at. The single most important thing you'll take from today isn't a nut. It's 4 signs. If you suddenly cannot urinate at all, that's the emergency room tonight. If you see blood in your urine, or you get burning with a fever, or you have unexplained weight loss and new bone pain, you get seen promptly. Everything else you can monitor, write down, and bring to your doctor. So here is your 1 small step, and it costs nothing. Tonight, put a notepad by your bed and start the diary. That single act moves you from worrying to watching, from guessing to knowing. Worrying changes nothing. Watching changes everything. You don't need to be perfect. You are looking for the pattern. And if you know a man who has been quietly waving off these signs for years, the way the man at the start of this video did, send him this, especially the 4 warning signs. It might be the conversation that gets him seen while it's still easy. That's not being dramatic. That's just catching the whisper before it becomes a shout.